Philadelphia Eagles running back Rashaad Penny has exactly 11 more snaps on the 2023 season when compared to you and I. And that has left a lot of Eagle fans with a very valid question. What exactly is the purpose of having Rashaad Penny on the 53-man roster if he's going to be inactive for 7 out of 9 games and only play less than 2% of total snaps on the season? What exactly are we doing with this veteran football player? Now, I realize that most of us have a fairly respectable answer to that, which is he's the break in case of emergency veteran running back for this Philadelphia Eagles football team. But with that said, upon studying the film, which, let me be honest, was a very small sample size of 5 running plays and 1 passing target, I did notice a couple of things that were kind of trend worthy with the way in which the Philadelphia Eagles are utilizing this player that may give us some details if his utilization is indeed picked up in the second half of the season, exactly what that role might be outside of just a break in case of emergency running back. So with that said, guys, let's go ahead and let's jump into today's topic. What's up, Cerebral football fans? My name is Stephen Hyder. This is Gate City Sports Channel. So the very first thing I noticed about Rashaad Penny and the way that the Philadelphia Eagles were using him is know the words 12 personnel, guys. 2 tight end formations. And I know you're probably saying, Steve, this isn't exactly a mystery because the Eagles like to run 12 personnel no matter who the running back is. But I have to be honest, off the top of my head, I don't think Rashaad Penny has actually run the football out of any other formation outside of 12 personnel, which I know this sample size, like Steve, it's 5 handoffs, man. Like, I'm not too sure that that's cool. That's really unique. I'm not too sure that tells us a whole lot. It doesn't tell me a whole lot either, other than to say that they clearly love 12 personnel, and maybe there should be an uptick in utilization of a big back, a 5'10", 5'11", 220-pound back in between the 20s, and being able to utilize that physical nature of things, especially with the amount of subtractions from the run game that we're facing, right? I mean, we've gone through 3 right guards now. Hopefully we're getting back our starter coming out of this bye week. Dallas Goedert is dealing with a fracture to his forearm, who's a big part of our run game, what we're able to do. And, of course, Jalen Hurts and the bruised knee. That's a big issue because Jalen Hurts impacts our run game in multiple ways. He's definitely a key component to how we get +1 in the running game. So I will say using Rashaad Penny in such a way that might allow you to use multiple tight end formations, be able to get heavy and big in between the 20s, and maybe set some things up through play action and RPO type stuff. I think there's an argument to be made there about the utilization of this young man in that role. The other thing that I noticed from the way the Philadelphia Eagles were using Rashaad Penny, it was exclusive to the second half and exclusive to the third quarter. That could be coincidental, to be fair, but last week, it was the early third quarter. It was the opening possession of the third quarter in which they utilized Rashaad Penny as the back. And then the week 2, his other week that he was actually active for a game, they used him towards the very last possession of the third quarter. And they were using him kind of in that same type of role. With that said, I do think there's an argument here that you could use Rashaad Penny as kind of the seal the game away type back. That second half contact balance between the 20s. I pointed out in the previous video, guys, that part of the reason he's got like a yards per carry above 6 yards and led the NFL during that duration of time at like a historic rate, part of that was because he was mostly used between the 20s, and of course he's talented, guys. So that's the other side of it. But with that said, I mean, if you're running in more contested areas, congested and tightened windows to run in, it's going to affect your yards per carry. So when you look at that kind of stat line, that kind of number, it's probably not a huge, shocker to learn that he wasn't utilized a whole lot in the red zone, from 2020 onward to 2023. There wasn't a ton of snaps there for him. As a matter of fact, he's the least utilized running back on the entirety of our roster from 2020 to 2023 inside the 20s. With that said, this young man does have some size. This young man does have an ability to bounce off of people. I mean, that was a little bit of his game back in college. And if he is 100% back from injury, I certainly understand why people want to add him to the red zone. Yes, it may lower that yards per carry marker, but as fans, I'm just hoping people understand that obviously there would be some form of a reduction in the yards per carry if you're utilizing him in that type of role. So I look at Rashaad Penny. I don't know what the comfort level is here. I don't know that the Eagles are going to shake up the running back rotation. They love Kenny Gainwell, guys. It's not my choice. It's their choice. That's their 2-minute and their red zone back. They got another guy in Boston Scott who can also play that role and be quite effective in that role. And then on top of Boston Scott, now you got this other veteran guy, Rashaad Penny, who I think is better suited for maybe closing the games away and taking carries off of DeAndre Swift to make sure you keep that guy healthy for the playoffs. And maybe the second half between the 20s where you got that big playability and some of the things that Rashaad Penny is actually really, really good at. Now, if I had to give you a quick cliff note of why I think he's been somewhat hesitant outside of just maybe injury concerns, why the coaching staff has been hesitant to utilize the player, I would say that his 16 grade in pass protection, and I'm not a big fan of grading guys because I think that it can be very subjective at times. With that said, I can confirm with my own eyes he was not the greatest in pass protection. I do think that's playing a pretty large role and why maybe he has not been used a little bit more, why he has not risen up in terms of the repetition and the actual like snap count, to be honest. All right, guys, I appreciate y'all's time and attention. Leave your comments down below. If you want more content like this, just click up here and select that video. And yeah, guys, peace. I'm out of here.